Have you ever had that one neighbor? The one who won the lottery and suddenly started acting like a king? New car every month. Gold-plated everything. Flying to Paris just for a weekend croissant. You'd gossip with your other neighbors, half jealous, half impressed, wondering how long it could possibly last. And then, one day, you see them rummaging through their own designer trash cans for scraps. That, in a nutshell, is the story of Venezuela. It's a tragic tale, a dark comedy of errors, about a country that was sitting on a literal mountain of gold, or rather, black gold, and somehow managed to go spectacularly, historically broke. This isn't just a political rant. It's a jaw-dropping look at how a nation with more oil than Saudi Arabia became a place where its people starve. It's a paradox so cruel it almost sounds like a sick joke. Beggars sitting on a pile of gold. Venezuela has the largest proven oil reserves on the entire planet. Let that sink in. Not just in Latin America, not just in the Western Hemisphere and the world. In the 1970s, this black gold turned the country into the envy of its neighbors. The Venezuelan currency, the bolivar, was so strong they called it the dólar de Venezuela. People from Caracas thought nothing of hopping on a plane to Miami for a weekend shopping spree. They'd fill up their suitcases with groceries and designer clothes like it was a trip to the local convenience store. The country was a beacon of prosperity, a shining example of what oil wealth could do. But this blessing was a Trojan horse. The oil, the very thing that made them fabulously rich, was also the seed of their ultimate undoing. It became a curse disguised as a gift, a poison that would slowly and methodically rot the country from the inside out, turning that pile of gold into a pile of dust. In economics, there's a concept called Dutch disease, named after the Netherlands when they discovered natural gas in the 1950s. The idea is simple. When a country discovers a massive natural resource, its currency gets super strong. That sounds great, right? Wrong. It makes all of your other exports, your cars, your coffee, your crops, insanely expensive for other countries to buy. At the same time, it becomes dirt cheap to just import everything you need. So, what happens? Every other industry in your country withers and dies. Venezuela got the most extreme, terminal case of Dutch disease imaginable. They didn't just get addicted to oil money, they mainlined it. Why bother growing your own food when you can just buy it from Brazil with oil dollars? Why manufacture anything when you can import it from China for a fraction of the cost? For decades, Venezuela's entire economy became a one-trick pony. The government nationalized the oil industry, and the state-owned company, PDVSA, became the nation's personal ATM. As long as oil prices were high, the party never stopped. But everyone with a shred of common sense knows that parties end. When the global oil price crashed in the 2010s, Venezuela's only engine sputtered and died. And because they had dismantled every other part of their economic car, the entire nation ground to a halt. Suddenly, the ATM was empty, and they realized they had completely forgotten how to grow, build, or sell anything else. The country was left with nothing. This is where the story shifts from a cautionary economic tale to a full-blown circus of absurd policies, orchestrated by leaders like Hugo Chavez and his successor, Nicolas Maduro. Faced with a crisis, their solution was not to fix the engine, but to take a sledgehammer to the dashboard. It was the clumsy hand of the state, intervening with the subtlety of a bull in a china shop. Their first brilliant idea was price controls. The logic, from a very naive, childlike perspective, almost makes sense. Things are too expensive for the poor, so we'll just pass a law making them cheap. They forced businesses to sell essential goods like milk, flour, and medicine at prices far below what it cost to produce or import them. What do you think happened? Shop owners and producers, faced with the choice of selling at a huge loss or going out of business, simply chose the latter. One by one, bakeries, farms, and factories shut their doors. The result wasn't cheaper goods, it was no goods at all. Supermarket shelves went from partially stocked to completely bare, creating the iconic, tragic images of endless empty aisles that defined the crisis. Then came the nationalizations. The government, believing it could run things better, decided to seize private companies, from foreign-owned oil rigs to local cement factories. The message this sent to the global community was crystal clear. Don't invest here, we might just take your stuff. Investors and foreign companies fled the country as if it were on fire, taking their money, their expertise, and any hope of economic recovery with them. With no businesses left to tax and no investors left to entice, the government found itself backed into a corner, completely out of cash. This is the moment where any sensible person would admit defeat and seek help. But not them. They resorted to the single worst, most self-destructive economic solution in the history of bad ideas. Their logic was, again, stunningly simple, like a child who doesn't understand money. Oh, we're out of money? No problem. We own the money factory. Let's just print some more. And so, the money printer went brrr. They printed bolivars. Then they printed more dot and more dot and more. They added so many zeros to their currency that the numbers became meaningless. This unleashed a monster called hyperinflation, a beast that devours savings and destroys societies. The value of the bolivar evaporated almost overnight. A stack of cash that could buy a house one year could barely buy a loaf of bread the next. It became so worthless that people stopped counting it and started weighing it. You'd see vendors with scales, weighing kilograms of banknotes just to sell a few eggs. The currency became a joke, a symbol of total system failure. The very concept of money, the bedrock of an economy, had been rendered utterly meaningless by the government's own hand. The aftermath is a gallery of tragicomic, surreal scenes that you couldn't make up if you tried. The bolivar became so devalued that it was literally cheaper than the paper it was printed on. People started using stacks of banknotes as napkins or toilet paper because it was more economical than buying the real thing. Artists and craftsmen would weave the colorful, worthless bills into purses, hats, and sculptures because the currency was cheaper than buying actual art supplies. You could buy a beautiful, hand-woven wallet made from thousands of bolivars for a few USDOLLARs. Then there's the Maduro Diet. It sounds like a fad, but it's a horrifyingly dark term Venezuelans coined to describe the unintentional, collective weight loss of the population due to widespread starvation. Reports found that the average citizen had lost over 20 pounds in a single year, not by choice, but because there was simply nothing to eat. Millions fled the country, creating one of the largest refugee crises in the world, walking for hundreds of miles with nothing but the clothes on their backs. The story of Venezuela isn't just about bad policy, it's a warning. It's what happens when a nation, blessed with unimaginable wealth, falls victim to the intoxicating allure of easy money and the catastrophic hubris of leaders who think they can bend the laws of economics to their will. It shows the world, in excruciating detail, how quickly a paradise can be turned into a hell, not by an invading army or a natural disaster, but by its own government's clumsy, naive, and ultimately devastating hands.